Massive storms like Hurricanes Helene and Milton can devastate the people and properties that take direct hits, causing billions of dollars in damages. But the economic effects of these events can be felt thousands of miles away and for many months to come. Megan Leonhardt is senior economics writer for Barron's. Megan, we talked to a tomato farmer who took a whack from both Helene and Milton in Tennessee and Florida. Let's listen to what he had to say.
When Milton hit, there was significant damage already done from Helene coming by to the coastal communities. This just made it worse. It'll be a traumatic period of time, both for retail, but particularly for food service, the restaurant chains.
So he's talking about the effect on the people who are buying his product. What are the other ways that people far from these storms will be feeling effects?
He makes some great points there. I mean, this is something where our food chain is national and international. And it's interesting, some of the initial estimates coming out of Florida alone for just Milton, it's going to be a $2.5 billion damage that the food and agricultural communities are going to sustain from this. So, this is something where we're going to see it affect food prices in the short term. Keep in mind, the citrus production in Florida makes up about 17% of the nation's citrus production. And of course, it's going to be one of those things where it might not be a today problem, but it could also be a tomorrow problem. Keep in mind that some of these agricultural products are things that go towards animal feed, which of course then goes into that kind of production and food chain. It's not only, families who are getting tomatoes from their local grocery store, but as, the farmer did point out, this is going to affect the restaurant industry and food services industry because they obviously need these items in bulk.
And I presume that it's not just agriculture we're talking about. It could also apply to manufacturing output.
Certainly. I mean, you have to look at what was affected in Helene. I mean, South Carolina in particular, and certainly, Virginia, Tennessee, those are big manufacturing areas. We're probably going to see that come out actually in the economic data in the coming months. And not to mention the idea that, like, places like Asheville, I mean, you had major highways that were damaged in North Carolina. Those repairs are going to take some time. In fact, actually, initial estimates are saying that we might not even see those repairs completely finished until 2025. And that actually could impact even things like tourism. In Asheville and the surrounding areas, the employment situation, 17% of the labor market is actually in tourism. And this was an area that was incredibly hard hit in Helene in particular. This could make, this very difficult for people, not only in the terms of the people living there, but those who want to go and enjoy the sort of Asheville scene that's developed in recent years.
You talk about some of these showing up in the economic data that comes out. Does any of this affect the numbers that policymakers watch?
Absolutely. And it's one of those situations where it's potentially not even coming out yet. We did have some of the employment effects start to take place. We saw that in some of the initial jobless claims data. Those filing for unemployment have ticked up in recent weeks. But then, of course, we are going to see it probably most pronounced in the upcoming October jobs report, which is going to be released November 1st. Now, this is one of the final reports that we're going to get before the federal officials start really doing their analysis on whether or not to lower interest rates again for their November meeting and by how much. Now, of course, could also affect bigger national issues like gross domestic product. In fact, some estimates are already sitting there and saying that we could see a short-term hit to GDP as much as about 0.4 of a percentage point. That doesn't sound like a ton, but keep in mind this is the national GDP. And so it really does actually take quite a bit to make this kind of sway in the wind, if you will.
Do recoveries actually give you a little sort of rebound? Construction jobs, demand for lumber and other building supplies?
It's a great question. And this is why I say it may be a short term kind of, issue where we have this theory. It's called the broken window theory. And of course, it means, it's going to take a little bit of resources, people, jobs to actually replace the broken window. In this case, many houses and of course, a lot of the damage and wind damage. But of course, this can be a little bit tricky to estimate. And of course, you do have this issue where in the US in particular, we've really seen an uptick in the frequency of national disasters. So in the 1980s, for example, there we had about 30, 33 events that were billion dollar disaster. In the 90s, we had about 57 events. In the last 4 years, from 2019 to 2023, we've had over $100 billion disasters. That makes it very difficult to have these speedy recoveries and things that we can just continually bounce back from when we're dealing with so many events.
The way emergency response works in this country is the federal government comes in, pours in money and resources after an event. Should there be more attention on before an event, trying to protect and sort of make systems more resilient?
It's really interesting. We're actually seeing insurers in particular really come out ahead of this and say, look, there's things that everyday ordinary Americans can do to actually help themselves in these kind of natural disaster events. And they're not just talking about hurricanes in Florida. They're also talking about, California residents who may be exposed to wildfires. They're talking about folks in the Midwest who may be dealing with tornadoes. And heck, even places in like Austin, Texas, that have had incredible storms where we've seen golf ball sized hail, coming down. Those are all things where no matter where you are in the country, you may have to worry about natural disasters and sort of flooding events and all these different issues. And so we are sort of saying, yes, we probably do need to be more proactive, both the ordinary everyday Americans like us, as well as the big corporations that may actually have a lot of exposure to this kind of event.
Megan Leonhardt of Barron's, thank you very much.
Thanks so much.